This is the Water Quality Association podcast.
If we're doing our jobs right, they should think of it just as if they have city water.
Yeah.
You know, if they shouldn't be worried about water quality. They shouldn't be worried about aesthetic issues in their water. It should be odorless, tasteless, colorless, and taste great. I don't need people to know all of the things that are going on behind the scenes in those water plants because they're not concerned. Open the tap, great water quality comes out, and they're happy. And that's what we provide if we're doing our jobs right.
That's former WQA President DJ Shannahan talking about small community water systems and how WQA members can get involved in that segment of the water treatment market. And welcome to the podcast from the Water Quality Association, the leading voice of the residential, commercial, and industrial water treatment community. I'm Wes Bleed. Find us at WQA.org. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast and share it with someone on your team. Small community water systems are one of the most overlooked opportunities in the water treatment industry, and many professionals may already be working in this space without even knowing it. In this episode, I'm joined by former WQA President and Hall of Fame member DJ Shannahan. We'll break down what defines a small community water system, why this segment is gaining attention, and how water treatment professionals can step into this opportunity. This topic will take center stage at the WQA convention in Miami Beach. Plus, we'll have our WQA tip. It's all coming up on the Water Quality Association podcast. Small community water systems represent a significant and often overlooked opportunity for water treatment professionals. Across the country, thousands of schools, daycare centers, campgrounds, mobile home parks, for example, all operate small public water systems that need reliable water treatment. So in this episode, we talk with DJ Shannahan, former WQA president, member of the WQA Hall of Fame, about small community water systems and about how that topic is going to be featured at the WQA convention in Miami Beach. So without further ado, DJ, welcome back. I can say welcome back to the podcast. It was many years ago. You and I used to do this a lot.
We sure did. And those were always fun times, Wes. And I certainly enjoyed my time working so closely with WQA and on the board and my year as president and spending time with you doing these podcasts. Always a lot of fun.
Well, it's great to get your expertise because you have so many years in the business, on the board, volunteering, going through situations and problems and looking at opportunities for how you can be better and your company can be better. Why not have you on to share what you know about this topic? And did I get it right? Is that the essence of what the small community water system opportunity is all about?
You absolutely nailed it, Wes. That's exactly what it is, and I think a lot of us don't really realize we may be in this space because maybe we don't have a license.
Okay. Well, let's talk about it a little bit. When we talk about small community systems, break it down for us. Tell us who we actually are talking about and how one would go about trying to get the business of water treatment for such a system.
I think, if you ask members if they're in the small system space, they probably would tell you no, because they're thinking of it strictly in terms of whether they have a license or a certification to operate small systems. But the truth is, if you've ever sold a water treatment system to a school or a daycare or a mobile home park, campground, other things like that you mentioned in the beginning, you're really already working in this space. And like I say, a lot of us just don't think that that's what this is about. But for those of us that provide commercial water treatment systems, chances are we're already working with small systems, and maybe we just never realized it.
Do you have a sense of the number of WQA members, for example, who are in this space?
We WQA took a poll to try and figure that out because we wanted to understand what we felt like the opportunity was. And we learned that about 700 current members hold a state public water systems operator's license. I can tell you, Wes, I would have guessed it was far lower than that. When we get to convention and we're talking about all the different things that we do in our everyday lives, and the technologies that we're using, and best practices and things like that. Very rarely do the conversations go to operating public water systems or even providing the treatment for public water systems. So seeing 700 members was pretty impressive, I thought.
Now, you mentioned something a moment ago, and I kind of didn't really respond to it, but I want to respond now, and that is, what do you have to do to be qualified to have a license or whatever it might be to work in this field?
Well, there's testing like every other license that you would get. All the testing is based on the Sacramento manual. It's kind of the Bible for water treatment plant operators. And so you have to pass a test to become an apprentice operator, and then you have to serve under another operator for a certain number of years. Then you take a test again. And once you've got your proficiency hours in, then you can go and get a license. And then the licenses are divided up based on the different technologies. So there's level 1 through level 4 for water plant operations. And then there's different levels, I believe, on the wastewater side, which can be even a bit more complicated. But for the water treatment side, typically level 1 through level 4 is what we see. And then each state has their own licensing program. But it all follows the Sacramento manual. So if you've studied using that book and taking that course, you'll be fine to be able to get that done. Getting the continuing education or getting the experience hours can be a bit more difficult, but there are ways to get that done as well.
Do you have some examples in your own company's business that you can share with what you decided to do to take advantage of this?
Well, I'll tell you, for us, it started off as just an opportunity to add revenue. I mean, there's a great opportunity in what we bill on a monthly basis. So I love recurring revenue. I think it's part of what keeps companies strong. You think about my year's presidency that you were so familiar with, and it was the COVID year. And the companies, I think, in this industry and really around the world that did well were those that had recurring revenue. So it was our decision to get into this part of the business was strictly for the recurring revenue. The cool part about it is that what we didn't realize was all the ancillary revenue that would be generated by it. For example, you're almost always, if there's a water softener in a plant you're operating, you're almost always going to be the salt and maybe chemical guys as well. So you get revenue from that. You're going to be doing the equipment repairs. You might have a preventative maintenance contract that is supplemental to your plant operation contract. And then the really great part is you're first in line when it's time to replace the equipment. And, we've got some plants that we operate where the upgraded equipment was 6 figures. So, you look at it and think, wow, the plant ops revenue itself is really something that I'm fascinated by, but all the ancillary revenue that comes typically ends up being greater than that. So we operate some small mobile home parks. We have some shopping centers that we operate. We have some poultry producing companies where we operate their facility at their offices. Mobile home parks, as I said. So it's a great source to meet a lot of people that need quality water, to work with a lot of engineers on the design of these systems, and to kind of bring our folks, our service techs and other operators into the fold on what goes through our mind when we're thinking about protecting the public health through a small system instead of just, one home at a time.
Well, when you go through all of those examples, I'm reminded of how vast the water treatment industry really is. And, you think you go to a mobile home park, for example, and somebody would say, well, where does your water come from? Or the answer is probably, well, I don't know. I guess it's from the municipal water treatment plant in our area. And it very well may not be, right? It may very well be a well for that particular park.
I like to think, well, if we're doing our jobs right, they should think of it just as if they have city water.
Yeah.
If they shouldn't be worried about water quality, they shouldn't be worried about aesthetic issues in their water. It should be odorless, tasteless, colorless, and taste great. And if it is, and they're happy with their water quality, and every time they open a tap, that's what they get, then we're doing our jobs. I don't need people to know all of the things that are going on behind the scenes in those water plants because they're not concerned. Open the tap, great water quality comes out, and they're happy. And that's what we provide if we're doing our jobs right.
Right. So if we were to go back to that 700 number that you talked about of WQA members likely involved in this space, and then we look ahead to Miami Beach and the convention, as I mentioned in the introduction, all those 700 are not going to be there. So we know that the number of, or the percentage of the attendees at convention may very well not be in this space yet, and they may be looking for information. So what are we going to do? How are we going to present this information, and what can people learn about small community systems?
Well, I think the education that WQA has lined up this year is phenomenal. I'm actually moderating most of the sessions on the first day of convention on Tuesday, the 28th. I'm actually on stage as a presenter for one of the sessions, but they're geared towards not only that 700 or so that are already familiar with the WQA and members of the WQA, but also to people on the outside that may have interest in finding a new way to get their continuing education. But let me just go through the sessions that we have in mind for you, because this is going to be, in my mind, this is going to be one of the most exciting first days of convention that we have coming up. Obviously, there's a kickoff session first thing in the morning on Tuesday the 28th, and then we have our opening general session later in the afternoon on Tuesday. But in between there, it's a full day for people that are in the small system space or considering getting in the small system space. So some of the topics that we've got, for example, we start off with Richard Mest, who'll be talking about building recurring revenue with tailored treatment and services for small public water systems. After that, we'll have Doug Raymer and Adam Green. We'll be talking about balancing opportunity and exposure, a practical guide to contract risk and water treatment projects for small water systems. Then you'll be hearing from me. You'll be stuck with me, and along with Anthony DeRosa, who's executive director of the Association of State Drinking Water Administrators. He's really great, engaging speaker. You're going to love wanting to come out and listen to Anthony. And we're going to talk about a design build project that we won. And so we'll be discussing the design build process from the project owner's viewpoint, how we aided in the design, and we'll be talking about some of the regulatory obstacles that had to be cleared. Then there's going to be a WQRF hosted lunch and learned, which the topic being smarter solutions for small public water systems. And there's an additional fee of $65 to attend that lunch and learn. And in the afternoon, we keep the momentum going with Everett Wendover, who's going to give us a presentation on reimagining commercial applications. And then our last small system session of the day, Randy Edgar and Cliff Foshnet will talk about navigating small public water system markets, a practical SWOT approach. So it is a full day to kick off the convention right with this new focus on small systems. And I'm just so fired up about it, so excited about it. And I love all these speakers. They're great guys. I've worked with them in the industry for many years, and you just are not going to want to miss this.
Well, that's a great point. And by the way, if you are thinking about attending a convention, you haven't yet signed up, go over to wqa.org/convention for all the details and get registered, book your hotel room and all of that. But, sometimes people like to slide in a little late. And they know, I don't have to be there for the first half of the day or whatever, or as long as I'm there that night, or as long as I'm there for the general session. No, you want to be there so you can take advantage of all this. This sounds exciting.
Absolutely. And of course, there's other educational sessions that are going on at the same time. So it's not just the sessions that are focused on small systems. So for the other members of the WQA and even people outside the industry that are considering coming, there is a full host of education with at least 2 or 3 sessions going on nonstop throughout the 3 days of convention. So check out the WQA website, as you said, wqa.org/convention, and it will give you the full schedule. Look at the detailed schedule, and you'll see every session, the times, and really understand the value that 3 days out of your business are really going to bring to you and your business.
Yeah, it really does sound like that. And then for somebody attending or thinking about attending and is not yet a WQA member, as a long-term WQA member. Could you speak to that, the value of membership and what it offers?
Well, for sure. I mean, the reason that we're able to get the licenses that we have and the continuing education that we get that is so current and so meaningful to our members is through the WQA. You know, what we're going to be learning about are the everything that evolves in this industry. For example, a webinar that I attended that WQA hosted just a couple of weeks ago that you actually led, Wes, was about the new regulations that are coming in the PFAS world. And, you know, if you're not in tune with this, you might not even be familiar with the EPA standards to start with, let alone how they might be changing. So all of these things are what you're going to get. It's real current information that we all need to know to be able to do our jobs. And for those of us that are in the small system space, this becomes even more critical. I mean, how can we operate a water plant to certain standards if we don't know that the standards are changing? And then that doesn't even get into the technologies. When we start talking about the technologies that we have, how cool would it be to figure out a better way to do our jobs? Maybe a more efficient way to operate a plant, maybe a better way to monitor remotely, some of the other technologies that we have, and the access to certified products, and of course the certified professionals that our industry offers is just invaluable.
Yeah, and as you say that, it makes me think that there might be somebody out there thinking they got to do everything themselves, and but what I'm hearing you saying is don't go alone, don't do it alone.
Don't do it alone.
It involved WQA, get involved so you can take advantage of the expertise, the resources, the tools that WQA provides, and the networking opportunities you get at something like convention as well.
Correct. And I'll tell you another thing too. One of the values of these sessions, most of the sessions that we're going to attend at convention are going to be approved for continuing education credits, not only through the WQA, but I use my WQA report card and send it to the various states where I hold licenses, and they accept the same training provided, the information that we give them on the report. It's going to give them, the title of the session, how long we were in the session, and so forth. But the states are accepting this information. So you're given an opportunity to do continuing education the way that you feel it works best for you. Most of us do that through online education and training. But the truth is, some of that is kind of stagnant. And what you're going to learn at WQA, as I said, referencing the podcast on PFAS just a couple of weeks ago, these are regulations that are going to be changing. And we're on the ground level telling you about it before the changes are actually in place. So that's I think, one of the key differences between what we're going to offer and what you might get through some of the online courses you take. I can tell you, I've taken almost virtually the same course for the last 3 rounds of renewal of my plant operator's license. And it's the same information over and over. And so while that might be a good refresher, it really isn't teaching me anything new. I'm doing those classes just to get my continuing education credits so I can renew my license. What I prefer to do is what the WQA offers, and that is the real-time, today information on the technologies and training that we need to do our jobs better. So a great value that you're going to get by coming to convention and becoming a member of the Water Quality Association.
And the convention is April 28th through the 30th in Miami Beach. DJ, I can't thank you enough for doing this for us. Your expertise is always appreciated, and your service as well.
Thank you, Wes. It's been a pleasure. Always great to see you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Wes.
And now our WQA tip. The WQA Convention and Expo is coming up April 28th through the 30th in Miami Beach. So it's time to get registered and visit the WQA Convention website, wqa.org/convention, to download our social media toolkit. You can find it under the Attend tab. Graphics and messaging are all ready for you to cut and paste onto your social media accounts. Post by April 3rd to LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram with the WQA 2026 hashtag, and you could receive a $50 gift card. Learn more and register at wqa.org/convention. Thanks for joining us for the Water Quality Association podcast. Learn more about water and water filtration at our consumer website, betterwatertoday.org, and learn more about professional certification, the Gold Seal Product Certification Program, and how you can become a member at WQA.org.